Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, taking a look at the Ki-93. Now, you guys see that big canoe underneath the front of the airframe when we first started the film here? That is a 57 millimeter cannon. There's only one on the belly, and there's two 20s mounted in the very inset edge of the wing roots. You can kind of see the muzzle sticking out right there, but that is a 57 millimeter cannon, and the fully upgraded version of this airframe changes that 57 millimeter cannon from being kind of a derpy burping gun to more of a sniper rifle. This round can go out to 3,444 feet. That is quite a range, and that is before bonuses, that is before putting anything extra on this airframe. But it will allow me to be able to reach out and touch the enemy pretty far away if I can get the shots to make contact. Like that. That was not pre-recorded. But that is exactly what this airframe is good for, is being able to kind of stay far away, get that gun sighted in. Can we get a repeat? Yeah, we'll just use the 20s, I guess. But being able to get those shots on target and really make the enemy hurt. And they don't even suspect that it's coming most of the time. So, the Ki-93 kind of gets a bad rap. And the reason it oh, there's the hit. Oh, I love that. That's what makes this plane's fun to fly. It gets a bad rap because it gets a little bit more speed, it gets a little bit more altitude performance over the 102 and the 45, which are the aircraft preceding this, the Tier 7 and Tier 6, or Tier 6 and Tier 5, sorry. But they're good planes. The thing is I would compare the predecessors to this to being P-38 Lightnings with a little bit more maneuverability. Like, they're pretty Are you kidding me? You're gonna do this type of stuff on me? Alright. Let's try this. Yep. We'll talk in a second. It's hard to hit them when they know you're coming.
Command centers are under our control. Communication with the headquarters established.
Sorry guys, a little hot and heavy here. I haven't even looked at the mini-map. Alright, so what I was saying is a lot of times this plane in particular gets a bad rap because you go from the 45 and the 102, which are more maneuverable versions of a P-38, maybe sacrificing a little bit of speed and altitude performance, but you've got a big 57 millimeter on there with two 20s, and you can really let fly, and getting that 57 to hit at closer range is easier and can be a lot of fun as well. It'll still blurp away a lot of the enemy's hit points, but this thing's ability to reach out and touch people, it's a completely different type of play style. You're not as maneuverable as the 102. The 102 is actually much more maneuverable than this airframe. From my recollection, come on. Oh, there it is. But when this thing hits, man, it hits really well, and it feels good. Like, I don't know if you guys feel it just watching, but when you get those shots to connect at range and it just makes an aircraft disappear. Very similar in its effect as the BF-110C6, if anybody's flown that aircraft. That is a Tier 4 premium aircraft that has a 30mm 108 at Tier 4. There we go. And that aircraft as well can really rip people apart at range. The altitude performance gets better, the speed gets better, but you're not really going to be outpacing a lot of the heavies at this tier, so you really don't have any advantage in those realms, but where you do have the advantage is catching people by surprise and just putting a massive shell on the aircraft and crushing them. I'm gonna head over and see if we can get a bomber. That's probably that PE2. That's the only bomber today. Ooh, but I got a multi-roll coming in. There we go. Go ahead and level off and get some distance. He'll turn on me. And apparently be low enough in health that I can kill him. Alright, let's get a little bit of altitude on you. Tail gunner's nothing really to write home about. You have one. That's all I really have to say about that. Get a little bit of speed and separation. I'm not even need to worry about him.
You'll soon be cut off from support.
Or do I? Do I need to? Do you need me to finish that? There he goes. He's got it. But I think it gets, most of the bad rap is just that it's a change, and people don't like change. They're like, man, I thought I'd just get a better version of the previous aircraft I was just flying. Like, no, sorry, man, it's gonna be different. I am just not getting those flyby shots here. There's the good hit. Crippling the aircraft. That was a 3 hit.
Keep it up. Victory is almost ours.
Seriously, man? I think I just outturned him. Let's get those guns on him. Nope.
We're in control of all plants. It's half the battle.
This thing really likes coming up underneath RB-17s or 32s.
Air supremacy achieved.
This is an invisible aircraft. I have no idea where that plane is. I don't know if anybody else has been getting that glitch lately, but I definitely have. Alright, let's go back to the hangar and see how I kind of equip this airframe. It wasn't a stellar battle, but I think that first shot really highlights and showcases what the aircraft can do. Something that's a little bit off, and I wasn't expecting this when I got the airframe, is that you can't put a sight on it, not until you specialize in the airframe. So I'm trying to work my way up to getting everything unlocked on the airframe in order to be able to do that. Did pretty well here, a decent personal score. I prefer to get over 10K, but I'll take what I can get here. And looking at the guns here, there's that big 57 compared to the 57 that you get on its predecessor. You're doing a little bit less damage, but the range at which you're hitting and the rate of fire is much higher. So if you can get these to hit, it is great at being able to really knock a big chunk of health off of an enemy at very great distances. You do get the companionship of having a couple of these 20s on here, which are going to be doing decent damage. You know, it's 75 damage per second, 400 rounds a minute, so you're going to be able to pump out some pretty decent hits, and the range on these cannons is actually greater than the stock 57mm, just to give you an idea. Now, I'm going to draw a quick comparison here between the guns on this airframe. When you look at the American aircraft with its cannon set up, there we go, and its machine guns. So you've got these 450 cal machine guns on the American P-38, and you have this 37 derp, and they have the exact same effective range, very close overlapping. And when you look at the Ki-93, you'll see that stock, it has a similar type of a setup, right? You've got a big derp gun and a couple of sustainment damage guns, and that's really the way that it works, but you got to get pretty close in order for those guns to be effective. Meanwhile, with this on here, you're really using the 57 as your primary weapon, and the 20s are there to augment the damage, or if you got somebody pretty low, you can just hammer down on the trigger and trickle away what's left of his health, hopefully lighten some fires and getting some damage on him. And that's really how you use this airframe. Now, this is the Ki-93. Ki-93's maneuverability has a pretty lengthy turn time. It's 13.7 seconds, not a great roll rate. The cruise speed is 355, which is decent, but it's not spectacular. Meanwhile, if we go ahead and go to the P-38, it's 336 and 424 for speed. And the maneuverability is 13.3. Guys, this is a P-38J. That's a tier 6. The Ki-93 is a tier 7. So you already know that you can kind of interpret and understand where somebody's issues would lie, is that when they were flying in, let's go ahead and pull it up, the, I gotta go back to the tech tree in order to pull this up. The Ki-102, which is the one everybody really likes, its maneuverability, it's got a 12.2 second turn time. That's pretty darn quick and really gives it a great opportunity to be able to turn on a P-38 and wreck him. Now, he's still not going to be setting any records when it comes to speed. 304, 367. The P-38 is going to outpace him every time, but he has a similar gun setup. He's got that, well, it says 37 here, but he actually gets a 57mm. Boom, right here. He gets the 57mm in a couple of the 20s. Now I've just cluttered up my screen real bad. But if we were to draw a similar comparison, and overlap again, there's the P-38J compared to an equal tier heavy aircraft. And you'll see the Ki-102 is going to outperform the P-38 when it comes to maneuverability, which means you'll be able to turn. You can essentially dogfight another heavy aircraft and you'll win in those heavy dogfights. And that's why people like the Ki-102. And when he gets close enough, he can get these 57mm on target. Look at the damage output. 300 damage per hit, guys, compared to the 108 coming out of the 37mm from the J model. So when people go from the 102 to the 93, they suffer a bit of disappointment, some buyer's remorse I've noticed. But for me, I flew a lot of time in this aircraft. Looks relatively similar for the setup, a big canoe underneath, carrying a big derp gun on it. And this aircraft has a similar type of setup here. Exact same range, exact same rate of fire. Granted, the damage is lower, but this is at tier 4. This thing a one-shot air defense aircraft. And that is how I got used to flying that type of aircraft. So if you've flown a BF-110 C6 and you really like that derpy sniper rifle, I think you'll like the 93. And if you're in the 102 and you're expecting the 93 to be more of the same but at the next tier, prepare to be disappointed, because you're really getting a tier 7 version of the BF-110 C6. So, And I kind of mentioned this going underneath services. The equipment for the cockpit is actually locked, so you can't put a gun sight on it until you get this thing specialized. But you do get another spot for engine modules, so if you wanted to, you could probably put on engine thrust or something like that. And then I like to run the CO2 tank if I'm running the engine thrust module, because the increased chance of fire will then be countered by the CO2 tank to be able to kind of keep the aircraft from lighting on fire. I really love engine cooling, guys. I love engine cooling. I love the idea of it. I know it's changed in the recent iterations of the game compared to the insta regain of all of your engine boost, but the ability to hasten the cooldown or essentially make it so for like the next 8 seconds I don't use any boost. It's kind of like free money in the, it's free energy in the energy piggy bank. But then I also have the option here of getting a restarter on here later. So this thing specialized, I think, is going to be a very dangerous piece of equipment, especially since there's some bonuses you can get for accuracy, and that would make this thing primo, because then you'd really be getting the guns to hit. Because I've actually specialized this airframe and upgraded this to the nth degree because I love it that much. It is an absolutely fantastic airframe that performs very well, so the 93 is more of the same for me, just a different type of airframe. I know I've rambled on a little bit here, but that's pretty much the gist of it for those of you who are debating going to the 93 from the 102. Take the information I've given you, make your best choice, and hopefully you guys enjoy the aircraft. Like I said, I'm having a great time, and I think you might have heard the excitement in my voice after that first shot taking out that one airframe. So I'll catch you guys on the next one.